What's up, Instagram Live, Facebook Live, YouTube? Nice to see you all. What day is it? Happy, terrific Thursday. Tremendous Thursday, hopefully, for you out there in Instagram, Facebook, and internet world. As you're tuning in, we're on day number 95 of our 100-day personal performance and business growth challenge. And on this marvelous, magnificent, incredible day, our topic is keeping things super simple. I was working with a few clients this week. I'll give you a little background here. I was working with a few clients, and I noticed people, you're going to come on this side if you're going to join us. My wonderful wife is here. She just kicked the tripod for me. I noticed people tend to overcomplicate things when they want to get a result. And so one of the funniest explanations I've heard in a long time is keeping things simple. If you're trying to increase your sales, instead of trying to redo all the fonts on your website and come up with a brand new product and do all these things, it's like, keep it simple. Take the product you have, get a list of people who would be your best client, and start calling them and telling them about the product. You don't need a fancy email campaign. You don't need to redo your whole website. You don't need new branding colors. If you just keep it simple enough and get it done, you'll absolutely make progress. Another example, I think we talk about the fact that someone wants to lose some weight. They want to work out. And so they spend the next 3 days buying new gym shoes and getting a new outfit and buying a new gym bag and signing up for the best membership and figuring out who the best trainer is. And in reality, if in those 3 days they would have just done something simple like walked 3 blocks each day, they would have been a little bit healthier than they are with all the stuff they come up with. And so it's really simple. I don't know what category of life you're trying to make progress in, but share it in the comments. I'd love to see that. How can we use this in the early stage of a startup? Oh, my wife has a solution.
I would highly recommend that you read The Lean Startup. I forget who wrote it, but it's called The Lean Startup, and they talk about the minimum viable product, or MVP. Yep. And that will totally break down how to keep things super simple so that you can really see tremendous success in your startup without getting in your own way of making it too complicated. So The Lean Startup is a phenomenal book that will take you through that exact process of minimum viable product, which is essentially what Jarek is saying. Just keep it simple. Yeah. And then from there, once you have your minimum viable product, you constantly are testing to see, should I
pivot
or persevere? Pivot or persevere. But you have to start with a minimum viable product, something super simple, and then test and keep testing and testing.
So very welcome. So this applies to business. This applies to, health and fitness. This applies, and let's say, is there any area of life where this doesn't apply? If we were to step back and say any area of life that this doesn't apply, to keep it simple, relationships aren't always that simple, but there's some simple things here that kind of mess with people. Like if you miss somebody, reach out to them. That's kind of simple. If there's something you need to tell someone, tell it to them. One that's not that simple that people mess up all the time, but there's a solution to it, is if there's a problem or challenge, bring it up. There's one caveat though. If you're going to bring up a challenge, if you're going to bring up a problem, always make sure you've brainstormed at least 3 possible solutions to it. And you've kind of circled what your favorite one is. And not only that, you described why it's your favorite one. So that's a little caveat in relationships that might make it slightly more, a couple more steps. But if you have a problem, bring it up. Just make sure if you bring up a problem, you have a solution to the problem, at least 3 different solutions to the problem, and you've picked your best one and you know why. Because that's actually helpful. I've gotten, for some reason, people popping up telling me problems where like, this is wrong or that's wrong. And I'm like, wait, what are your top 3 solutions? And they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, I don't know isn't helpful. So you're going to have to go back and find 3 solutions and bring them back, and then we can chat about it from there. And they're like, huh. and they kind of get stuck. If you're going to bring up a problem, bring some solutions with it, and at least 3. What is up from Mombasa, Kenya? How's life out there? We actually want to go to Kenya this year. I think it'd be fun, or Tanzania, somewhere over there. I used to live in Uganda. So let's see. Anything else on keeping it simple?
Hi friends. So when it says wave, or do you wave to them? Oh, you can do that. It says wave, and I just kept waving. Anyways, what else? Keep it simple. Yesterday we were listening to this book together, one of our recent favorite books, called Atomic Habits by James Clear, and which I'm sure Jarek has recommended on other lives. And one thing that, remember the part that he was talking about with any habit, it's along these same lines of keeping it really simple. If there's something new you want to start and you're not sure where, like with a new habit, for example, just do it for 2 minutes. That's it. Sometimes we overthink it and complicate it. It's like, I need to work out, like Jarek was saying, I need to get the shoes, I need to get all this stuff. Who cares? Like, go in whatever and just work out for 2 minutes to start building that habit.
You lean forward. I like it when you yell in my ear.
Oh, okay. It's very narrow. I like that we have to snuggle for this video.
There you go. You get in there.
Okay. Was that right in your ear?
Yes. Oh, thanks.
Okay. That's all. That's all.
Keep sharing.
Oh, so Power of Habit. Atomic Habits by James Clear. He talks about if you want to start a new habit, just start doing it for 2 minutes at a time. Just 2 minutes. And after 2 minutes, in fact, stop and go do something else. And after doing it for so long, you'll realize, well, shoot, while I'm here, while I'm running, while I'm doing this, and you start to build onto that habit. But starting really simple, whether it's the process of how to do it, or the strategy, or even just the time committed to doing the thing you need to do, just start really simple. And sometimes that's just 2 minutes. It's really beautiful. I thought that was super fun. I thought it was great insight. Anyways.
It goes along with keeping it simple.
Yes.
It's so just like there's a minimum viable product in the business space, there's also a minimal...
Please don't yell in his ear.
Thank you. I appreciate that. There's also a minimum aspect of getting things started. If you have a habit you want to start getting started, and a very, very simple thing to do is pick, what's something very small you could commit to doing every single day. And it's so small that it's actually difficult not to do because it's small and simple.
Should we give them some more examples?
I think one of my favorites in the health and fitness was Sister Madonna Bruder. She started working out when she was 60 years old. And the way she started working out was by walking 1 block a day. So she would literally, on day 1, she walked outside, she walked to the end of the block, she walked back, and she's like, done. That was the whole workout. Now, most of us would be like, oh my gosh, that's not really a workout. Oh, that doesn't count. She didn't sweat and her heart isn't pumping. Like, no, she walked a block. And she did a block. I don't know her exact plan, but I remember the details. It was something like she did a block every day. And then after so many days, she added a block. So she had 2 blocks to walk. And then after so many days, she added a block, and she had 3 blocks to walk. And then so many days, she added a block, she had 4 blocks to walk. And then she went to 5, and then 6, and then 7, and 8. And somewhere around 9 or 10, she started to walk a block, jog a block, walk a block, jog a block. And what this escalated to in her 60s, by the time she got to her 70s, she actually did over 100 triathlons in her 70s, starting in her 60s, just walking
100?
a block. 100.
Amazing.
And then what's insane is in her 80s, she's been doing the Ironman competition, which is a 2.5 mile swim, 100+ mile bike ride, and then a marathon to wrap it up all in one day, back to back to back. And so what was wild is all this started by doing something that was so simple she couldn't screw it up. I mean, she just walked 1 block. And she did it so consistently that it built into a habit, and it built into remarkable lifetime results over her 60s, 70s, and now 80s. And so in over 2.1 decades, or a little over 2 decades, she's done something phenomenal because she put in the effort every single day with such a simple habit that it just stacked up, added up, and built into where she is today. Stopping a bad habit. So this was something incredibly useful. That the book talks about, the concept of most of our bad habits are nothing more than a unconscious trigger based on past training. Give you an example. Let's say someone has a problem, and if you have a bad habit, toss it in here. I'll see if I might be able to use it. I might not, but I might be able to use it as an example. So someone has a bad habit of every time they go to the grocery store, they buy a bunch of junk food. And what the author said is, in reality, it's not that they're consciously choosing to buy junk food. Their body is trained when I walk down this aisle to reach up and grab that thing off the shelf. It's trained. It's a trigger, a cue, a trigger with an action and a reward. And so they're not consciously choosing the junk food. They're literally walking by and just grabbing the things they always grab, because on this space we do these things. One of my favorite marketers, and my wife used to work with him, Seth Godin, the concept of people like us do things like that. Their identity is tied to it. So they're like, oh, I'm a fun person, and fun people buy cookies. And every time they walk down the cookie aisle, they think I'm a fun person, and they grab the cookies. And he said one thing: if you want to switch, if you want to stop buying bad food, he said it's really simple. Try shopping at a different grocery store and watch what happens. Make an intention to say, I'm going to buy healthy foods, walk into the new grocery store, and watch what happens. It's much easier to buy the healthy foods in a new environment because there's no triggers that's going to cause you to reach for all the same stuff you were reaching for before. And your brain doesn't know where they are. It could be on a different shelf, different aisle, different situation. Therefore, you most likely aren't going to reach for them because you don't know where it's at, out of sight, out of mind, and there's no triggers to cause you to want to reach for it, and all of a sudden you move on. And so one big environmental factor, most of us we've trained ourselves for so long to do the same patterns in the same places that when you go there, your body just goes into autopilot and starts doing what it's always done there. So I'll give you an example. If you go to a therapist, and when you go to the therapist, you always share your wounds and fears and anxieties and pains and anger and hurt and frustration. And then all of a sudden, you sit down and let's just say you go to the same building that your therapist is in, and you sit down with your aunt or uncle or cousin or something, and you sit down and they go, how's life? And all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, this is wrong, and I don't like this, and this frustrates me, this upsets. And they're like, wow, all you talk is about what's wrong with your life. And you're like, why did I do that? And in reality, your body linked this building to just spewing all the stuff because that's what you did when you were here with a therapist. And so you were unconsciously going through a pattern that existed around this building that had nothing to do with the person you were actually in the moment with, which is the next piece here to think about. Are you really present in the moment? Or are you reacting to old triggers? That's something really important in relationships. A lot of us are without knowing it, spending the whole time, even sitting with someone you love, reacting to all the old patterns. Are you reacting to the moment right now that's just happening? Or is your brain going, I've seen something like this before. That means they're going to do this, so I'm going to react to that. Which is not reacting to the actual moment. You're reacting to some past trigger that either hurt you or made you laugh or made something good or bad happen. And you're not living in the moment. You're living in the past at that point. It's a really interesting concept. We actually have a lunch to go have with my nieces and brother and sister. So we're going to say good afternoon, good evening, and goodbye. Anything else you want to share with them?
Have a beautiful day. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for all the love. Loved your comments.
And we'll see you all tomorrow for day number 96 of our 100-day personal performance and business growth challenge.
Good job.